speaking of divisional games, the Dallas Cowboys, -4 at Washington with an over-under of 48. Dak Prescott, 7-1 straight up, 6-2 against the spread in his career versus WFT. The over, by the way, 7-1 in those games. 21-6 straight up in his career division starts for Dak, which is ridiculous. 19-7-1 against the spread. Has just 17 TDs to 1 interception against the WFTs in his career. But in concerning news for Dak Prescott, his coach, Mike McCarthy, came out and quasi-guaranteed a win on Thursday for the Cowboys. He just said, we feel really confident we're going to win this game. And while maybe he's just saying, coach speak, it did come off a little surprising, Pete.
It did. That's not usually Mike McCarthy which is a little surprising. But you know what? Guarantees. What do they mean? Is it going to make his team play harder? Washington play harder? Once you get hit in the mouth, you go play. You know how I feel about that stuff. It's going to impact the game. None. I like Washington in the game. I'm going to take the points. I think they can win this game outright. I just think the Cowboys are playing consecutive road games, and I know they had a little time off, but that's always tough. And they just don't look right on offense, and I think you can move the ball on them on defense. Heineke's played good football, and so the defense has made big strides in Washington without Chase Young and without Sweat, and it's all because Jonathan Allen and those guys on the interior are dominating up front. And the corners have improved. I mean, the corners were terrible early in the season. They got that much better. So I'm going to take Washington. I think you're going to win the game outright. I said that last week with Pittsburgh. They won the game outright. I think Washington's in that same spot here. I think they win the game outright. You won't need the points.
This line opened 5. Dallas -5 came down to 4, and I think that's about where it should be. We saw it. Now it's at 4.5. So I guess when Mike McCarthy guarantees a win, that's worth a half point to the line for some reason. So good job to the bettors there for backing up his words. Dallas pass offense finally able to all practice together. They've been guys have been out left and right and COVID and all this stuff. So I think they'll have success. Even though the Washington defense has improved, I think the pass offense can get going. Washington's on a roll, 4 straight wins. I think kind of due for a letdown when you get on that kind of winning streak. They're jumped in the playoff race. They're in playoff hunt now, and you just kind of see it with these teams that they don't continue to ascend. They now have to face a little bit of adversity, and they will make it back. Dallas also got DeMarcus Lawrence back last week. That's huge for their pass rush, and if they're ahead, that helps stop the backdoor cover if you're getting better pass rush. So I was leaning to the Cowboys at -4. Now that it's 4.5, I'm a little less on that. I'm probably staying away from this game at this number. I can see the argument for both sides. But with how many games Washington's winning in a row, you figure that this would be a 3-point game. And the reason it's not, I think, is because the odds makers are seeing what Mike McCarthy's seeing, and Dallas is going to go win this game.
I got Washington as the best bet as well, +4. I loved it when I saw and obviously you prefer 4.5 if you can get it. Look, the numbers from Dak are terrifying, that he plays that well against division opponents, that he is covering the spread at that higher rate, but it's still a road divisional game. And, Washington I understand that there is reason to believe that this team might sort of, as RJ points out, fall back down. There's also reason to believe that this is sort of what Ron Rivera is able to get out of a less than stellar roster in the second half of the season, because we saw it last year too. They started 2-6, became the first team since 1970 to make the playoff. I don't know, it was a long time to make the playoffs after starting 2-6. They started 2-6 this year, and now the defense has been playing really well since week 7. I believe they haven't given up more than 24 points. That was to the Packers. Coming out of the bye, they've been locking teams down. Tougher test, obviously, with Dallas, but Mike McCarthy back in the saddle now. Let's not forget that this Dallas team is prone to doing some dumb things offensively, as in they just feed Zeke Elliott way too much. They don't utilize their best players, and it puts them in a position where they're sort of forced to make less than EV decisions in terms of how they distribute the ball with Dak. I think Taylor Heineke, I don't think he's some top level starter. I think he's good enough to win these games, or at least keep them competitive. Cowboys might win, but I think it's less than a field goal or less with the Cowboys winning the game. So I'll take Washington +4 as a best bet.